Alright, what's up guys? Today I have a bit of a project for you. This is my 4Runner. This is what I've been sleeping on for the last about year probably. It's kind of a makeshift storage build slash sleeping platform. There's some storage space in there. You can add a piece on there and it extends it out. It's about 6 feet long so I can sleep in here. For a long time I was thinking about building a better one of these with the intention that I would sleep in there as well as have storage, but I've made the decision I want to go to a rooftop tent. Rooftop tents are awesome because you can sleep on the top and then basically utilize this whole storage space back here for everything else. So because I'm saving so much space in the back, because I'm going to be now sleeping on the roof, I've kind of rethought my whole process of what I want this back to look like. So instead of being a sleeping platform as well as storage, I'm basically just going to utilize the entire space as storage. And now over here I want a fridge and some water, so I'm going to do a couple drawers over here. This is going to turn into my main drawer. I'm going to have one that's much taller and house all my extra tools and parts and maybe cooking gear and whatnot. Right now my biggest inspiration for this project is Trekbox. I don't know if you've heard of this company. If not, go check it out. I'll put up a big picture on the screen of some of these things. They're super nicely made. Really nice finish. I think they're super well thought out. And so basically in the back of my 4Runner, I'm just going to try to mimic one of those. I think those things cost about like $5,000, which I do not have to spend on one. So instead, I'm going to try to make my own. I'm going to bring all you guys along for the ride. So if you're interested in building one too, and maybe I'll try to like mock up some plans, or I don't even know. But first we got to rip this thing out, get some measurements, and then we can get building. Okay, so time to get building. Now what I want to do here with this drawer system is create a solid base which the rest of the drawers can be built on top of. I start by cutting out a template using cardboard and then transfer that over to the plywood which we'll be using. Then that can go in the bed of the truck and the rest of the drawer system can be built on top of that. And time for a test fit. It probably should be in here right now.
Yeah, you wanna crawl out of there?
Yeah, maybe so. For a first cut that I thought would be like way... That is actually really impressive.
Maybe twice, cut a couple times.
That's actually really close. Dude, nice job, brother. So, right here, these little D-shackle rings, I don't know what they're called. And these are going to be harder than the ones back there because they're kind of buried under the carpet, but if we take these out, then we're going to want to mark on here. Okay, so the thing we're trying to figure out now is there's these bolts, there's 4 of them, and I'm basically trying to bolt down the whole bottom plate to the 4Runner. So I have this like spot putty, glazing putty. My idea is if we put those on top of the bolts and then lay down the whole sheet of plywood, that will theoretically mark the exact locations of where we need to drill. I guess let's
dab them.
Dab them
Nice.
Okay, stick with me here, guys. This is actually more genius than it looks.
Okay. Get my fat ass all over this.
Not even really touching the screws.
Okay, so check it out. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4 markings. I just got back from the hardware store, picked up some of these little guys. These are some extended bolts which have the same thread as this one, which is the original. What we're gonna do here is we have these washers, and so we're gonna make little countersinks for those. I just have this 1-inch drill bit. We're gonna countersink those in and then drill through and hope that these actually line up with the holes in the 4Runner.
Now pro tip, make sure you're drilling on the top side, not the bottom side like we did. We ended up having to re-drill these holes later. We got lucky this time and ended up being able to use the same board, but be careful because this is a big sheet of plywood.
We got these all bolted in first try. We got 2 more up here, and the fitment is pretty darn awesome.
You good?
All set, eyes and ears.
And with the base plate all cut and done, it was time to cut out 4 sections which would create the walls as well as the back plate of the drawers.
Mmm, yummy. Okay, here we are. End of the first day of cutting, and it's looking pretty good. Got everything, nothing's in place, nothing's like actually glued down or screwed in. Everything's just loosey-goosey right now, but it's just sitting there and kind of mocked up. That's looking pretty darn awesome. Alright, so it's a new day. Yesterday was the first day of cutting, and we pretty much got everything done that I wanted. We got 80-90% of the frame cut out, and I'm really happy with how it's looking. Now that being said, right after I finished kind of lining everything up, I was thinking about it, and I realized I actually want to do something a little bit different. So today I'm kind of going to scrap not all the progress, but I'm going to scrap all the side pieces we have. I actually want to make a locking system so all the pieces sort of slot together in channels and grooves, and that way everything lines up really well. I will screw them together alongside that, but I just want everything to be super square so when the drawers slide in, nothing is binding up. So it's going to be easier if I just show you. I'm just going to start cutting, and when I'm done, we'll get back at it and I'll show you how I did it. There. That'll work.
So this is me recutting everything that I just did the day before. I know it seems silly, but there's a good reason for it, and I'll show you in just a sec.
Okay, so guys, check this out. I'm all wrapped up, and let me show you what I did. What I did is I notched this out. So this back panel has notches in, and then these things have the little, basically male part, female part. Those notched together, and that holds everything in perfect alignment. That's awesome. So I know I didn't film that part really. I didn't exactly show you how to do it. I'll just do a little recap here. Basically what I did is I measured this out. On the table saw you have all these measurements, and then you can sort of move this back and forth. And so I just measured it out to 1/4 inch and then kept chopping. There are special blades that you can actually get to do this job. They basically are like twice as wide, and so they cut a big enough notch, but you can just do it like this. It's a little janky, but it works. It's really not that hard either. Okay, so that's part 1 of my genius plan. Part 2 is actually going to be notching out. I'm going to cut little grooves in here that are going to slot down to here, and that'll hold these panels perfectly in line. Let's get some safety goggles, e-protection, and a jigsaw.
Now I found out later that system was called tongue and groove, and I didn't go into a ton of detail, so if you need more info, there's plenty of videos on YouTube.
Apologies if I'm covered with sawdust, but guys, check this out. This thing is freaking sweet. So here, I'll take this off in a second, but there's the notches. It goes down here. Everything notches in. And I can't really show this on camera. You'd have to sort of feel it for yourself, but I am amazed at just how sturdy everything is. Nothing is glued in. This is all just the wood, all these slots and connections sort of gripping into each other. So with these taken off, you can now see these are the little slots that I cut. Here are the corresponding little nubs that fit in, and yeah, when it's all done, it looks like that. Totally seamless. Okay guys, well hopefully you can see everything is mocked up behind me. All we have to do now is make a top plate, and that'll complete the frame.
Onto the top of the frame, and this was probably one of the trickier parts of the build just because I was one person at this point, and it's a big piece of plywood. But nonetheless, I did the tongue and groove system again. It took a bazillion cuts, but it worked perfectly.
Oh! Did it do it? Oh my god. It freaking worked! No way! Look at that! The whole frame is done! Okay guys, so since doing the last build update, we've made a little bit of progress on this. I've actually built one of the drawers mostly. Let me show you what it's looking like. Here it is. I've made a cutout for the fridge, which we're going to be working on today. And then here is the first drawer, and this is the easier side. I've already installed the slides. Comes right on out. And it even fits my toolbox. So now that I've gone ahead and done one side, I'm going to jump over to the second side now, which is the more complicated side. I'm going to bring you guys along and show you exactly how we're going to build these. Come on. Come on.
Okay, so here we go with the drawers themselves. Now as you can see, I'm starting the process by measuring out everything, including the drawer slides. And this is very critical because if the tolerances aren't perfect on your drawers, they can start to bind up and do all sorts of weird stuff. Now I'm certainly no expert at this process, but I did find a really good video by Solid Woodworks, and that's how I learned how to do my drawers, so I'll link that down below if you guys want to check it out.
Well, we're finished chopping all of our boards. As you can see, super nice flat surface, but here's the tricky part. We now have to turn that surface into something that looks like that. We're doing a tongue and groove system, and I don't have the right blade for it, so that is going to take a lot of cuts.
Now again, just like we did with the frame, we're going to be using the tongue and groove method for these drawers. You can totally use other methods. I know a lot of people just use pocket hole screws, and I think that's probably simpler, but personally I think this is a bit cleaner, takes a bit more effort, but I think it's worth it.
Well, we've got our first 3 pieces cut. I'm going to try slotting these together if they'll fit.
And as you can see, even without screws, this tongue and groove method makes the drawers fit perfectly.
Do a little test fit. Okay, so there we go. This is our little test fit here. Obviously you can see nothing's actually screwed together or anything. These drawers, the slides are actually going to be further up, but everything is fitting nicely. This is where the fridge is going to go. There's going to be a smaller drawer underneath for all the kitchen supplies. So I think we're ready to screw this together and mount the drawer slides up.
So now is the time when you get to see if all your measurements were correct. And if not, you'll find out very quickly and your drawers will start binding. In my case, I got lucky and they were all good.
I have some shims set up to hold this slide in place, level and where I want it. And I'm going to start installing these. I have these little sex bolts. Yeah, these guys here. They're called sex bolts because they go like this and screw into each other, male and female, like they're having sex. These are actually super solid though, and you need them to hold up a 500-pound drawer slide securely. You could just do screws, but these are going to be much stronger. I'm not going to do too in-depth on how to install these. If you want to know how to do that, go check out Solid Woodworks on YouTube. Got a lot of inspiration for this build from him, and he has a lot of awesome videos, so go check that out. But I'm going to get these installed and come back when they're all done up.
Now I know I've mentioned Solid Woodworks probably about 10 times by now, and there's a very good reason for that, which is that this dude is, he's out in California, does these custom drawer builds all the time for different cars, and so I've learned a ton from him, including all the process of how to build the drawers, how to mount up these slides. In fact, these slides, they're rated at 500 pounds, and I actually ordered them direct off of his website, and after using them for many, many months now, they're super awesome. So I cannot recommend him enough. Go check out his website. Now back to the video. As you can see, I'm mounting these slides, and it's super critical that the slides are both level as well as the same height on both sides. So again, take your time. Measuring out the drawers is key. Just take your time with it. Measure 18 times, like I said, cut once, and you'll be happy.
Okay, so check it out, guys. Once again, we've done a little mock-up. This drawer is actually in place. I haven't put all the screws in, but it's enough to hold it. This fridge is totally empty. It's just here for mock-up, but everything works. Watch this. That unlocks it, comes out, locks in place. Again, push this, push it back in, and it's locked in place again. Oh, that's looking so sick.
So back to the table saw for more cutting. And this time what we're doing is I'm actually creating a double slide out drawer. So what's going to happen is I have the fridge sitting on one drawer, and then below that there's actually going to be a secondary drawer that slides out even further to carry pots and pans and cooking utensils and all that stuff. So a million cuts later, here we go, and we have a second drawer.
We have a whole new drawer. Now this needs to go under here, in there. So we're actually going to take this back out, unscrew all the bolts on the hinges, and rip that out and put new hinges in between here and here. So we have a double length slide out drawer.
So if you haven't noticed by now, there's been quite a lot of trial and error during this process. I'm certainly no expert at this. In fact, I have very little experience working with woodworking and doing drawers. This is kind of the first time I've done a project of this scale anyhow. And in fact, most of these tools I'm using aren't even mine. They're my buddy Nico's. I got pretty lucky during this build and didn't have to redo too many things, although there were a couple things I had to recut off camera, which I didn't show. But if you're doing this for the first time, don't get discouraged. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Just make sure to take your time and you should have a great result.
This is what we got going on over here. This is our first slide. You've already seen this. That's drawer number 1. This is drawer number 2, which is going to have the fridge on it like you saw. That locks out. And then drawer number 3 is going to come another 3 feet all the way out, lock in place. So a total of 6 feet. That is insane.
So once I was happy with the fitment of the drawers, it was back to the chop saw one last time, and this time we're creating the end pieces.
Just made our end piece. Let's see if this thing fits in. That's what she said. Money. Here is our end piece. Again, tongue and groove right there. And yeah, I have to say I think I'm getting pretty good at this whole tongue and groove system. I've come up with a whole technique of doing it. So that is awesome. We're going to screw this in from the side, and then I think it's painting time. Alright, so we're just doing one last test fit. I actually put everything back into the 4Runner, and it looks pretty darn badass, if you ask me. All the drawers are working. There's that one. Locks out. I'm not actually going to pull all of them out together because this is not bolted in, so it kind of tips it back out with all of the weight.
Once I was sure that the drawers fit how I wanted in the 4Runner, it was time to go back with the drill and drill out the remaining holes for the sex bolts because these drawers were going to hold a ton of weight.
Okay, so last night we wrapped up everything in preparation for painting. Here's the first drawer that is ready. I've given that a final wipe down and dusting so there's no more sawdust on it. I'm going to go ahead and start painting this. While that's drying, I'm going to prepare the rest of the drawers as well as wrap up a couple more things in the truck. So I think that's the plan. There's just a slight breeze. It's going to be a perfect day for painting. Holy, wow. That's intense.
As always with a good paint project, first coat goes on about 50% and then the following layers can go thicker and wetter.
Well, the first just base coat it on. I sort of tried to do like a 50% coverage, not doing too heavy of a coat. It's looking really good. This stuff is the Duplicolor truck bed liner. I liked it because from what I've seen it has a really nice texture, very similar to Linex, but it's really stinky, so I might put on a mask here.
At this point it was just a matter of continuing the coats. I think I ended up doing about 5 coats total per drawer and also the top and bottom plates as well. And at some point I also realized that I was probably going to run out of spray paint. In this case I actually ended up picking up one of their gallon jugs of paint and ended up using some of the just sort of paint on with a brush. So between a combination of paint on with the brush and sort of spray paint, I ended up liking the spray paint texture more. It actually turned out really well. Check it out.
Well guys, we are all done painting. I think it's time we get this sucker into the back of the truck for final assembly.
So at this point we were on the final stretch and we were so close to being done. At this point in the process I really just took my time. Everything was painted, but there were a couple just tiny final adjustments I wanted to make sure the drawers went in smoothly, there was no binding and all that good stuff. So that's why I'm taking so long here, but the drawers are going in smoothly, and other than that we're really pretty much finished with the project.
And voila! I present to you the final thing. Check this out guys. This is just here staged. I don't actually have it powered or anything, but it's in there, it's secured. Has the handles on now. So it opens full lock, and then also you can go like this. Of course this opens up too. just like that. Hey, what's up guys? Carter here from the future, and I just wanted to do a little walk around, show you guys the final build. Talking to the moon. Pull up the thing on turn up. Okay, so in just a second I'm going to show you all around and so you can see the final product. But just for context, I want to let you know that I'm filming this actually about 8 months after I completed this drawer build. Which I think is kind of cool because it goes to show, and you'll see in just a second, that everything is holding up amazingly. It's not like I just finished this and it hasn't been tested. I've run this through its paces. All these drawers have been loaded down with tons of weight for many months, and everything is holding completely strong. All the drawer slides, all the handles, everything is rock solid. I guess without further ado, I'll just do a little walk around. I'm not going to do it super detailed because I'll have a separate video for that. But let's check it out and see what we built. Here she is in her final form. As you can see, I've actually added these handles on, sort of in the style of Trekbox. I really honestly modeled this whole thing after Trekbox, as I've told you. These are the locking drawer slides, so you can see if I push this in, that'll allow that to slide in, and then of course when I pull it back out, it locks into place and holds it, even though I'm kind of on a downhill right now. This is the main drawer system. I've come up with these little dividers. These can slide out. I'm not going to take it out right now because I probably won't be able to get it back in. And then over here, I normally have my fridge. You can see I have these little tie downs and whatnot. Let me adjust the exposure. I have these tie downs. I actually have these little brackets which also help hold it in place. I just haven't been doing a lot of camping, so fridge is out for now. And then stove is in there. Got some space for dry goods and masks for this COVID season. And then in here, like I said, I won't be going into too much detail, but I have some goodies. I actually have an inverter here that is hidden away in this panel. I have some 12 volt and USB, which is all running currently. This is powered from the inverter, 2 USBs, and I actually did something pretty cool, which is that I have storage under here. This is where I house all my electrical stuff, but there's some storage down there. Actually, if I come over to the other side, there's even a second panel which powers on auxiliary power, so when you turn the car on. And then under here, it's super dirty right now, but I have some first aid kit. I keep my winching equipment under there, and there's even space for more stuff. All right, now coming around the side, this is kind of buried so you can't really see it too well, but I actually ended up building a little extension here. So this piece comes out, and it's essentially a sleeping platform. I haven't used it in quite a while, but you can actually sleep all the way from back there up to this chair, and it's actually pretty comfortable. It has fairly good room. That has a support under here. And even more space for storage. I keep my air up tools and shoes and random stuff. Alright guys, well that's going to wrap up this quick walk around. Like I said, I'll be doing a separate video with a much more detailed walk around, getting into all the electrical and all that good stuff. But I just wanted to finish this video with a little overview so you could see what we actually built. Now before I close this video out completely, I want to just go over a couple things regarding the build process, because I know I showed you sort of how I did a lot of the building, but what I didn't show you is there were several mess ups. I think I maybe showed a couple, but like I said, I'm no expert in this. I really didn't have much of an idea what I was doing, so a lot of this build process was kind of just learning as I went along. Fortunately for me, it ended up working out pretty well. I didn't have too many mess ups along the way, but this is a fairly involved build. I mean, relative to, you know, like my previous build was literally just 2x8s and a piece of plywood. So this is, you know, using drawer slides and having the double slide out, you know, having to figure out that system and having to figure out the dovetail, sort of tongue and groove, all that stuff. So if you're doing something like this, it's going to take quite a bit of time. I think I probably spent a couple weeks total on this, and took a long time. Learned a lot from it, and it's totally worth it. I mean, this thing is bomb proof. It's going to last forever. But I just don't want to give off the false impression that I just whipped this together and it was perfect the first time. There were definitely mess ups along the way. Anyway, I hope that the build was detailed enough where you can learn from it, and if you want to build one of these yourself, you can do that. I'm also going to link videos down below, for instance, how to install the drawer slides, Solid Woodworks. I'll also link all those products, the drawer slides, where I got the plywood, the paint, if you're interested in that. So hopefully you can have sort of a reference guide if you're interested in building something similar like this yourself. Yeah, other than that, I think that's more than enough talking. This video is probably 25 minutes long already, so I don't want to make it too much longer. If you have any questions about this build, I know it's fairly complicated and I might have missed some things, so please feel free to drop comments down below and I'll try to answer those as best as I can. Otherwise, stay tuned for a full walk around video coming soon, and my arm is getting really tired. So I'm gonna end this video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope this video helped. If you want to build one of these yourselves, my name is Carter. I'll catch you back in the next one. Peace, guys.